Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're uncovering a darker side of history: how colonial powers manipulated elections in their territories to maintain control and further their own interests. During the 19th and 20th centuries, as colonies around the world began to demand independence, colonial powers often resorted to underhanded tactics to influence election outcomes and keep their hold over regions. In this episode, we'll explore how colonial elections were manipulated, the strategies used to suppress genuine political movements, and the lasting impact these actions have had on newly independent nations. Let's dive into the secretive world of manipulating colonial elections. The strategies of election manipulation. Colonial powers employed a variety of strategies to manipulate elections in their territories. One of the most common tactics was voter suppression. In many cases, the colonial rulers would limit who could vote by imposing strict qualifications on the electorate, often restricting voting rights to a small, elite group that supported colonial rule. This was particularly common in places like British-controlled Kenya, where only a small percentage of the African population was allowed to vote in elections designed to maintain colonial control. Another tactic involved intimidating opposition candidates. Nationalist leaders who posed a threat to the colonial government were often harassed, imprisoned, or even assassinated to prevent them from gaining political power. In French-controlled Algeria, the colonial authorities frequently targeted leaders of the independence movement, ensuring that pro-colonial candidates were the only ones who could safely run in elections. Additionally, rigging the electoral system was a favorite tool for colonial rulers. By manipulating voting districts or altering election laws, colonial governments ensured that the political landscape was skewed in their favor. In countries like Nigeria, the British structured electoral systems in a way that allowed pro-colonial elites to retain power, even as the push for independence grew. The role of propaganda and divide and rule. Beyond direct manipulation of the election process, colonial powers used propaganda to shape public opinion and undermine nationalist movements. Media controlled by the colonial administration often portrayed nationalist leaders as dangerous radicals or communists, stirring fear among the population. This manipulation of public perception helped colonial rulers maintain support among certain groups, particularly the elites and settlers, while discrediting legitimate independence movements. Colonial governments also practiced a divide-and-rule strategy, encouraging ethnic or religious divisions to weaken nationalist coalitions. In regions like India and parts of Africa, colonial rulers exacerbated divisions between different ethnic and religious groups, fueling internal conflicts that made it harder for nationalist movements to unite. By doing this, they could influence election outcomes by favoring one group over another, thus maintaining colonial control even as independence movements gained strength. The legacy of manipulated colonial elections. The manipulation of colonial elections had lasting consequences on newly independent nations. In many cases, the political systems established by colonial powers left behind deeply flawed structures, often favoring certain groups or elites while marginalizing others. This has contributed to long-term political instability in many former colonies, where the legacy of unequal representation and mistrust in democratic processes continues to impact governance. Moreover, the divide-and-rule tactics used during the colonial period have left lasting scars, creating tensions between ethnic and religious groups that continue to affect national unity. Many post-colonial states have struggled with internal conflict, civil war, or authoritarian regimes as a direct result of the divisions that were fostered during colonial rule. The manipulation of colonial elections is a dark chapter in the history of imperialism, revealing how colonial powers used democracy as a tool to maintain control rather than empower the people. These tactics not only shaped the political outcomes of the time, but left a legacy of division and instability that many former colonies continue to grapple with today. If you found this exploration of colonial election manipulation insightful, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our future content. Let us know in the comments what you think about this topic, and if there are other historical events you'd like us to cover. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.